How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video. In this one, I want to talk about my secret to sales in my agency, how I'm selling, these huge packages like these $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 packages in my agency, how we get these like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month retainers. And I just want to talk about, one of the huge differences in how I run my agency versus how tons of other people run theirs or maybe teach to run theirs. And I really am going to talk about in this video about inbound versus outbound prospecting, as well as positioning as an agency owner and really how I position my services and the way that you should learn from how I position my services. And then lastly, I'll talk about some of the misconceptions regarding sales and what sales is supposed to look like. So that's what I'm covering in this video. Hopefully it's valuable for you. Really, I just want to, in one video, break down everything you're going to need, at least on a sort of a 30,000 foot view of sales, to get out there and start selling high ticket, high quality packages to clients and get your mindset right for selling these sorts of things. And before we get into this, really what I want to do is give you two options for getting further help. One, we've got a free Facebook group linked in the description. You can just get in there, ask questions. I'm decently active in there myself, actually. And you can network with people, meet new people, share wins, share losses, whatever it is. And get tons of help. It's a great community. We've got about 2,400 people in there right now. A great place to learn, grow as an agency owner, as a consultant. And then next is, if you're interested in the six-figure marketing consultant program, you can schedule a call with myself in regards to getting help. There's no pressure to buy. We're not going to hard pitch you. Really, I just want to see where you're at, bring you some value, help you along your journey. And we are always looking for new students. So if I think you're in a good spot, we'll make you an offer in regards to joining. And you can schedule down below if that sounds good to you. Once again, no pressure. Worst case scenario, it's great to meet you, and it's always good to get to see new potential students, new people who are trying to run their agencies and who are trying to do it right. So that being said, let's get into the video here. I'm going to start once again with really inbound versus outbound prospecting. So when it comes to running an agency, what most people are going to teach you what to do is they're going to teach you to send cold emails, send cold looms, cold call, these sorts of methods, and they can work. Inherently they work. And I made a video a couple videos back on some of the misconceptions about running an agency, and this was one that I attacked. And it's that cold is the way to go, and it's the only way to go. The problem with cold, in my opinion, is that it's not scalable, it's not leverageable, and it puts you in a place as an agency owner of, kind of being in the back seat of the conversation when it comes to the sales call. The prospect's really driving the call, they're really in charge. And that's a hard thing to be, that's a hard place to be as a salesperson. You want to sort of be in charge, directing the call, moving the prospect down a train of thought that helps them arrive at a decision point where you can then make them an offer that is hard to refuse and lock them in, right? When you outreach, it's almost like the client has all the leverage. So like, you know what, sure, I'll grace you with some of my time so you can tell me about your agency, instead of, you being the one that's gracing them with time. And this is a huge difference in the psychology on the call. So this is why I highly recommend inbound, not just because it's more scalable, not just because you can get more clients, and not just because you can charge more and have more trusted clients. Like, there's so many benefits, but this is a huge one as well. When a client comes to you, you actually own that conversation. You can direct that conversation in a direction that helps both of you because you know that your service can help them and you want to help them make a decision with you. And you have the ability to sort of push them in the direction that you know best would fit their situation. And obviously I talk about some of the inbound methods that we use. We teach organic marketing through like LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, these sorts of social platforms. We teach you how to become a good salesperson over the phone. We teach you how to position your services. I mean, recently I gave you guys a case study. If you're in the program, if you haven't seen it yet, I guess I'll just remind you now. If you're in the program, I put in our free Facebook group in the program, or actually our mastermind private Facebook group, I put in like a sales recording of one of the meetings I had, and it was literally for a client that is not in my niche, totally out of my wheelhouse, and I literally on the call said, hey, this isn't our specialty, I'm not even sure that this is what I can do for you, but I'd love to work with you because I've got plenty of friends that do pretty well, and I think we'll just do what they do for you. And they're like, yep, sounds good, let's go. And what's interesting about that, and this brings me to my second point, is that you're not selling on features or expertise. You're not selling on features or expertise. This is a huge misconception and a huge thing that's holding you back. You're selling on results. You're selling on outcomes. So, for example, if you're working with, I don't know, let's say for my niche, you're working with a coach that has a $10,000 coaching offer of some kind, whatever it is. You can charge them 20 grand for a funnel and say, you know what, if all this does is make you an extra 2 sales a year, we're in good shape, right? And that gets them thinking properly. It keeps them from thinking what's included. Really, when you get a client thinking what's included, what does it come with, what are you going to do exactly, you kind of send them down this spiral which leads to nowhere, and you lose the sale. And I'm sure you've experienced this before as an agency owner. If you've been on the phone and a client says, hey, so what exactly do you do and how does it work? The problem with that question is they're not actually looking to know what you do. They're looking to see if you think you can help them and if they like what they're hearing. They're not even looking to see what you do. They don't really actually want to know what you do. They want to understand if it relates to them. So whenever a client asks me that, I say, yeah, I'll go in depth on what I do. But first, let me make sure I understand your goals. You're saying you want to get from $20,000 a month to $50,000 a month, correct? And they're like, yep. And I'm like, all right, you've got a $5,000 offer. Yep, correct. Okay, sweet. So if we were to add 30 grand a month to your business by building this funnel and these ads, we'd be good to go. They're like, yep, all right, sweet. So what we do is, we basically bring it back around to the client, make sure that they know that we're talking about them, not about us, because people don't buy you. They buy the next step in their evolution. They buy the next step in their journey. And when you can position yourself as such, it's really easy for you to sell because people don't buy you. They don't even buy into this concept of people buy into you, like especially if you have a personal brand-driven business, like Elon Musk and Tesla, for example, or other businesses like that. Like people will literally buy a Tesla because it's Elon. But the reality is they buy a Tesla because they like what Elon says about them as a person. Does that make sense? So they're always talking about the client and what the client wants and what the client's desires are and where they want to arrive at as a business owner or as a prospect as a client, right? And so that's a huge thing as well. You're not selling on features. You are selling on results. You're not selling on expertise. You are selling on outcomes. And when you move from feature and expert selling to results and outcome selling, the difference is phenomenal. And it's really brought me to a point in my agency where, in our program, I actually give you guys like live sales calls of clients that I've sold, these high ticket packages to. And one client, pays us $10,000 within an hour of the meeting. And it's because, all I did on the entire call was I redirected the conversation back to what they want to do with their business, why they want to grow their business, what their goals are, what that means for the rest of their life. And I made the call about them, really. It's really that simple. Like you make it about them, you speak about yourself only in relation to them, and then when it comes time for your offer, you almost let them define exactly what it is, but that at the end of the day, exactly what you're going to do for them, right? You kind of let them have almost the control when it comes to defining what's included or what it looks like or anything like that. But then you say, yeah, that sounds good. Here's how I've seen it to work best. I'm probably just going to do this instead. This relates back to, your goals. Hopefully I'm not speaking too broad or too theoretical. I'm kind of listening to myself speak and I'm hearing that there's no specifics, and I hope that this is still a valuable video for you because, to sell on results and not features, to sell on what it can do for a client instead of what's included is the secret to selling real packages to clients and getting clients to commit. Because honestly, to be honest with you, if you're paid by the hour and you're not paid on value, you're paid by what you do and not what it could do, you should be getting charged like probably $20 an hour max as a Facebook ads expert or a funnel building expert because we're a dime a dozen. There's tons of us. There's so many of us, it's stupid. Same with like back when I was doing photography. The reason I was able to charge as much as I did for a wedding was because I knew exactly who I was going after and I was able to paint for them a picture of, how I'm going to help the wedding day go, the sorts of meaning that their photos will have for their future kids, their grandkids. I referred them to other clients I've worked with and really painted an experience instead of, just being a technician with a skill. So hopefully that makes sense. So we've talked about inbound versus outbound prospecting and how you own the call with inbound. We've talked about feature versus results thinking when it comes to selling. And then the last thing is really your mentality and how you approach these calls as an agency owner. So, one of the things that we teach in our program, we talk about detaching from the outcome. So really there's this concept that when you're too attached to anything, you can keep yourself from achieving that thing. And I've noticed significant growth in my business and in my life in general, like with relationships in all areas, when I just take a step back and say, it is what it is, what will happen is what will happen. I'm going to make myself a force that directs things slowly in the direction that I want them to go. There's a great book called Psycho-Cybernetics, and sort of a step up from that book would be Reality Transurfing. Both books I highly recommend. And in both books, they talk intently about the concept of detaching from outcomes and detaching from personal desire. So on these calls, if you're placing a ton of weight, a ton of personal and emotional weight on making the sale, then it's going to be way harder for you to do it just on average. I'm not saying that any one call comes down to your ability to or not to do this, but I'm saying that when you just see things objectively and you're not worried about how much you make or don't make, or what it means to you if you make the sale, what it means to you if you don't make the sale, and you're just sitting there being very objective with the client, relating the service back to what results they want to get and seeing if it's a good fit for them and helping break down any false beliefs that they have and handle objections, then really it gets pretty easy to make sales, especially once the emotions are out of the way. Because if there's emotion there and there's attachment to self and there's attachment to your goals and your desires, it keeps you from being objective. It keeps you from being, on the spot for the client and being able to relate back to the client, because you're going to notice this, you're going to talk about yourself more than you're going to talk about them. When it comes time for the offer, you're going to say, here's what's included, here's what you get, here's what we charge, here's our team, here's blah, 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 us, me, instead of what do you want? How does it work? Will this work for you? What exactly is your outcome here? What are you aiming for? What are you wanting to do here? A really good book that I recommend to everybody, by the way, is a book called Socratic Selling. So I'm sure you've heard of the Socratic method, where you ask questions to help people arrive at conclusions. Well, Socratic Selling talks about how to ask questions that lead people to realizing that what you have to offer is a great option for them and they should invest right now. And that's really the practice that I have in my agency and in my business as a salesperson, is just guiding prospects down this path of making a decision for themselves. Instead of saying, here's how we are amazing and here's why we're really good. I mean, we established that early. We established that out the gate, that we're good at what we do. Once that's established and that they know that they could get results with us, then the call can follow this flow of, asking the client questions like, what motivates you to grow your business? What brings you to us specifically? What in a perfect world would this look like for you? Things like, why not just do this yourself? Why are you even looking for help? These sorts of questions that help them sort of admit that they need help and that you're the person to help them. And then moving them to a decision point. We're like, great, I think you're in a good spot. Let's talk about what we do, go over it briefly, get them to state, why they want to invest with you, and then say, all right, sweet, that sounds good. Let's get going. We can take a card, whatever you want to do to get you going. And then you handle objections, move it forward. So hopefully that makes a lot more sense than maybe a lot of what you've heard on the market so far in regards to sales. And this is why I'm able to sell, these really high packages and do it consistently, is because I understand these things. So yeah, that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Once again, you can book a call with myself regarding the 6-Figure Marketing Consultant Program in the description. Join our free Facebook group if you want more continual help. And let me know if you learned anything in the comments down below. I love making videos like this. These more technical sort of, high leverage videos, like, high leverage skill like sales is a really important one to talk about as an agency owner. So thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.